The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NFL Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NFL from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NFL Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NFL.
The Chiefs went into Arrowhead against the Chargers and came out with the worst case scenario.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Nothing could have been worse than what we saw today in the end with Patrick Mahomes hyperextending his knee at the very least, going away from trying to make a comeback against a division rival that already had your number. This is something that's very, very difficult. I don't put anything on Gardner Minshew. I don't put anything on the guys trying to step in for a slew of injuries today. But the primetime thing that will shut down not just this season, but possibly next, is the Mahomes injury. There was an update from Andy Reid. How did you take it?
Yeah, I mean, there were really two parts of it. One is that Patrick Mahomes will be getting an MRI either tonight or Monday morning. I'd imagine try that done this evening if they can. But when asked about whether or not it was a serious knee injury, Andy Reid did say that he doesn't know, but it didn't look good. And that's exactly, and then told us you saw it. And we did. We saw it on the camera. You're right. At the very least, a hyperextended knee, but certainly could be more damage in there. They're going to find out with the MRI. You know, you're hoping best case scenario, like you said, Ryan, is it's a hyperextended knee. Maybe it just keeps him out for the next 3 games, and that's not a huge problem at this point. Chiefs are out of the playoffs, so you can afford that. You just want to make sure that your quarterback is 100% ready to go. You want him for OTAs, but at this point, you're settling for training camp. So if it's more significant than that, if there's ligament damage in there, then that you'll deal with that. But that's at this point what you're just kind of crossing your fingers is that it's best case scenario.
There's a lot of question marks when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and his health and whether or not he's going to be available for the start of the 2026 season. I'm going to be curious to see how that turns out. Obviously, we'll let you know as soon as we get more information on that. But you look at how this is going to play into even 2026. I mean, you talk about at best case, he's out just these next 3 games. There's no way he's playing again in 2025, in my opinion. Doesn't matter if it was just, a hyperextension and he's able to maybe go in a week or 2. There's no reason to put him back out there. At this point, season's over. Rest him. Get him as healthy as you possibly can because he's been dealing with the knee injury for the past couple of weeks. And I do think it has been affecting his accuracy because he can't plant right. And so I do think that that's part of what's going on. But you obviously have to worry about what is going to happen for 2026. And you talk about OTAs, that'd be great. Training camp would be obviously, worst case scenario that you could hope for, I guess, if there's any kind of ligament damage. But obviously there could be more. So it's just a wait and see on that.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and it's not necessarily a terrible sign that they're getting an MRI. I mean, that's going to be a pretty standard move. But at the same time, I mean, it tells you that they're worried about something because if they knew exactly what was wrong with it, an MRI wasn't necessary, that would be one thing. But that's not what it is in this case. And obviously the way that Mahomes left the field, left the stadium was just as much of a concern. Once he got up from the injury, he was able to walk over to the medical table where they did the exam of the blue tent under his own power, limping, but was able to do that. But he then had assistance with an athletic trainer on both sides of him, getting down the steps back to the tunnel and then all the way back to the locker room. And, some of the players that did talk about his state of mind said, that he was down and frustrated. So it maybe gives you a little bit more insight into just how he's feeling about the injury. And I know there's a lot of talk about, whether it's the ankle or the knee, maybe both look like that they were in peril on that highlight. It's definitely the knee that they're concerned about. That was what Mahomes grabbed onto, that they were looking at on the exam table initially, and that's what Andy Reid specified. So they're concerned about the knee more than anything else.
Yeah, the ankle is not a worry. Even if that were the primary injury, a high ankle sprain at this point in the season when you're out of contention is not anything to be overly concerned about. You have plenty of time. It is the knee that is the focus. But I will say this, Matt. If it turns out that there is no significant damage, I'm sure there'll be arguments within the room, within the building about Patrick if he is not out trying to play again. But I have to say, with the state of the offensive line, as we've seen today, and another injury to Moore, a guy that you could project to be a starter possibly next season, I don't think there's any way that we see Patrick Mahomes play again this season, given the state of who's protecting him or not.
I mean, in the best case scenario that he walks away from this MRI, and miraculously there's nothing wrong and it's a hyperextended knee. The only thing I could possibly see the argument being is having him available for Christmas night. Mahomes, if he's healthy, will want to play. The Chiefs will fight them on that. They fought him before. But hey, Mahomes would want to play. I think there's going to be a lot of players that were maybe dinged up that are going to still want to continue to play. Hey, you're going to have a battle trying to get Chris Jones and the Nick Boltons and the Travis Kelce's off the field over these next 3 games. But remember, you're playing the Broncos on Christmas night in front of a national television audience. Let's be real here about the business of football. There is nobody involved in that game. NFL, your broadcasters, the Hunt family, the Chiefs organization, nobody wants to be rolling out there a lineup of backups. They're going to want to be competitive in that game. They don't want to be blown out by the Broncos again on national television in this situation. So, I mean, that unfortunately will be a consideration. Do I think Patrick Mahomes is going to play again this season? No. I mean, I think that this injury will probably keep him out. But I think there will definitely be players and people in this organization who will want to be competitive for the next couple of games. Week 18 is its own creature. You'll probably be playing a lot of backups in Week 18 as it is. But I expect that, we're certainly going to ask Andy Reid in his press conference on Monday, what his thoughts are and his plans are for these next couple of games as far as who's going to play and who might sit. Wasn't the time after tonight's game to ask him that, but that is definitely going to top at least 1B tomorrow after the status of Patrick Mahomes.
When you look at this game and you look at how this is going to turn out, though, for Patrick Mahomes and for Andy Reid and this Chiefs team, you have to wonder, is it also going to play into the thought process with Patrick and not necessarily even really the organization, but Patrick in general, that he may have thrown his last pass to Travis Kelce. At this point, if he doesn't play again this season, that's a possibility. Is that going to play into him trying to get back out there when he probably shouldn't? I'm going to be curious to see what the organization does. I hope they shut him down because, to me, at this point, I would start looking at some of your younger guys on the offensive line. Trey Smith has been dealing with a back injury and ankle injury. Leave him out. Play Chu Godric, play Hansen, play Norzad. Get those guys some snaps and see what you can do there, because the reality is you're done with the playoffs conversation. So you might as well get some, an idea of what you can do in 2026 and where you need to get some new faces.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
No ego from McVay. He leaned on the run all the way.
Whose house? Rams house. It's the Rams Squad. Everything Los Angeles Rams every week.
Is this what you expected here as the Rams win an absolute shootout? I know there's some people in the chat saying BTA, not really. This one was a nail biter until the end, but what are your thoughts just right off the bat? Biggest takeaway from that win?
41-34 is the final score. I had the Rams winning 33-27, so I had them winning up in the 30s, but I think it was the resiliency from the Rams. I think it wasn't the best start for Matthew Stafford. Threw an interception, was missing some throws. That Lions offense was explosive like we expected them to be with Jameson Williams, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and just the rest of that offensive unit. You knew they were going to score some points, and I give guys like Wallace, guys like Lamb, and kind of the Blake Corums of the world stepping up the way that they did. And I think that this is really a microcosm of what this Rams team has been all about this season, is they can take a punch, and they can get off the mat, and they can beat you in a lot of different ways. You want to win a defensive game and hold a team to under 20 points, they can do that. But hey, if it's going to be an explosive offense that comes here and scores some points, hey, the offense, they can explode as well. I thought it was a great game for Colby Parkinson. I just want to say I'm in my fantasy playoffs. I picked up Colby Parkinson this week, and he got me the dub. So I love that. I will also say that was a touchdown, right? Of course it was. If you're a Rams fan, if you're a Lions fan, you're saying, heck no. But I think today the word to describe this win is resiliency from this Rams team. And yeah, was it their best game of the year? No. But the fact that you can score 40-plus points and win a game when it's not your best game and go against a desperate Lions team that really is playing for their playoffs on the line. And, hey, I don't want to look ahead. I want to break this entire game down, but the NFC West title game is next Thursday, and it's going to be a bloodbath up in Seattle. So, hey, Ramley, we are in the playoffs, okay? So you got to check that box off the list. You got a ticket to the dance, and you want the 1 seed, but you can't get there until you clinch that playoff spot. So I thought all in all, a great resilience showing from this Rams team.
Extremely resilient. Big Brock, I know when we were doing the preview, I was saying shootout. You were saying, hey, it might be a surprisingly low scoring one. We did not get surprisingly low scoring. We got shootout from start to finish. Felt like this game, there's a couple near catches. If everyone stays healthy the whole game, this could have been kind of like that Monday night game against the Chiefs we were referencing, one of those 50-40, 52-49 type of games. Obviously, 41-34 the final. Any positives for the defense, or is this one of those ones where you just say, hey, we'll take the win, we'll move on and focus on Seattle next week?
I think it was exactly what we talked about this week. Obviously, I had a low-scoring game. Hopefully, the defense will step up and make some things happen. But, I got my foot in my mouth on that one. But when it came to what we thought about both teams, we talked about both teams being evenly matched, both teams being similarly built, where they're built from the inside out, where they have strong, front sevens. Both of them have great D-line, young D-lines. The second level is very good on both teams, and the secondaries were both suspect. We both had a question mark when it came to, the secondaries, and no wonder both quarterbacks had over 300 yards this game. So for me, I think it was exactly what we said this on the preview show, where we just thought both teams were evenly matched, and whoever, made less mistakes and executed, and, whoever took advantage of the secondary would win this game. So, as I'm watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, no low scoring game. But, ultimately the Rams are doing what they need to do to win. So for me, I went into it a little nervous. I don't know why I was nervous, and it wasn't like I was playing, but it was just like, both my teams playing against each other. I kind of had to take a objective, approach.
The Brock Bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
Brock Bowl, so, but I just think, I think both teams are, like I said, evenly matched. I think they're both two good playoff teams, potentially. And ultimately, our team just made plays. I think the run game was here to stay this game. Even when I seen them running towards the end of the game, and I'm watching them get 4 or 5 yards a pop, and I'm like, okay, he's leaning on it. He's not getting away from it. I remember, in the red zone, we throw the ball a couple of times, and we get like a penalty, and then we go back to the running game. I was like, thank God, somebody's in his ear telling them like, hey, let's just run the ball, enough, fancy dancy, type plays. Like, let's get in the end zone. So I love the approach to the game. I thought it played out exactly like we thought, it was during the preview.
Yeah, especially because, like we were saying in the preview, I was like, I really looked at that Lions-Cowboys game closely and said, I feel like the Rams defense is pretty similar to what we saw from the Cowboys after the Quinnen Williams trade, after getting a couple linebackers, where they were a really good front seven against the run. They were shutting down a couple, potent running games before the Lions, and the Lions couldn't run the ball against the Cowboys, but they exploded anyway and scored at will. And we were both in here saying, hey, it kind of feels like the same thing. The Rams are going to hopefully limit the run game. The question is, will the Lions still be able to take advantage of the Rams secondary? And my goodness, Puka Nacua 9 for 181, and he's not the best receiver on the night, because Amon-Ra St. Brown 13 for 164, 2 touchdowns on 18 targets. Oh, by the way, Jameson Williams, not even the best receiver on his team, 7 for 134 and a touchdown. All this talk about the Rams being the team that only has Puka and Devontae and nobody else, but it was the Lions who just threw to 2 guys. They had basically, they had almost 300 of the 338 passing yards. I say all that to say a bit of a concern going forward when the Lions have 2 guys they're giving the ball to every play and you're not able to do anything to stop them. Both teams, it felt like the Lions had a couple 4th downs and 3rd downs where it was, all right, screw everything else. We can do a play action here. We can do a bootleg here. But no matter what we do, the ball is going to Amon-Ra. Same thing happened for the Rams. I think 2 4th downs on the same drive where it's like, I don't care how it happens, but we're throwing the ball to Puka, and it worked, right? Both teams got it to their best players at will. I think the difference, the reason the Rams win this game is you were able to get some other guys involved. You did get 2 touchdowns from Colby Parkinson. You did have an actual run game of 29 for 159 from the Rams versus 20 carries for 70 yards. I mean, D-Mac, 20 carries for 70 yards for the Detroit Lions run game. How in the world do the Rams only win this game by 7 points, right? Like a phenomenal performance on that side for the defense, but the secondary, which I think you've been the most concerned of anybody, got exposed again today.
Absolutely. I think that the game that we saw in the second half was kind of the game that Brock was talking about leading up to this one, was a defensive performance from the Rams where they were going to be able to force some 3-and-outs. And they did that in the second half, forcing 3-and-outs in the Lions' first 5 drives. So that's the Rams defense that was a little more locked in, a little more sticking to their principles in that one. And I also look, anytime you get a freak interception like we saw from Aiden Hutchinson in the first half, and that kind of flips the game early. And that definitely is one of the reasons why you're trailing 24-14 at the half. So, yeah, you look at it on paper, you say to yourself, man, this is a Rams team. Has the defense gotten exposed and this and that? And sure, they're working through some things defensively. There's no doubt about it. And stopping that Lions offense on a fast turf at SoFi is going to be a tough task, even for the 85 Bears, right? But you look at today, 10 points in the second half. You get those 3-and-outs. You're starting to get more pressure. They get that late touchdown. So it does feel like, you beat the Lions. Did you survive a little bit maybe? The bottom line is they got the job done. And I think defensively, they turned up the pressure a little bit. You saw Kobe Turner getting home. He made some big play. I think you see Nate Landman kind of going sideline to sideline, making a big play. I see you're doing the conducting. Yeah, he needs to drop a Christmas album, bro. I'm telling you, man. He's got the voice, got the job.
No, he does have the voice.
He's got a little side hustle there. So I think all in all, I mean, that's kind of been the nature of this Rams team too, is they've been good against the run all season, but in an area where they have not been great, they've been good in stopping the run in a traditional sense, in between the tackles and just some wide zones, things like that. They've been able to make the tackles and wrap up, but it's allowing receiving yards to running backs has been an issue. And for the most part today, there were some plays, but nothing that really led to a loss or beat you. I do want to give an update on Davante Adams. And this definitely, from a vibe check standpoint, kind of like kills my vibe a little bit. But Sean McVay said that it, quote, didn't look good, but he's not ready to rule Davante Adams out against the Seahawks. So I think the good thing is, if we're talking about the Seahawks, we'll live with that. But when he went down, I was thinking, how serious is this? Grade 1, grade 2, this and that. So, look, if the worst case scenario is to miss a game against the Seahawks, and we know these things tend to linger, I want to get Michael Brocker's thoughts on that and just hamstring injuries in general and what he's seen throughout his career. But, I mean, that was a scary moment for sure because he's a veteran, and he's been dealing with this. We know they linger. He knew something was up right away. The fact that he did walk off like he did gingerly, I think definitely is a positive sign. But we know for this team to get to where they need to get to, you need Puka and Devontae, because if it's just Puka and no Devontae, you don't have the game plan for that. It's going to be really different for this Rams offense. So that's what is concerning me right now. But I just kind of want to get you guys' thoughts on Devontae. How concerned are you?
I mean, when you tell me that story as far as like him just missing one game, I think it's a good deal because we all know they can, get assessed and it's going to be, 6 weeks. They'll tell you right off the bat. So the fact that we're questioning if he's going to, play or miss one game, I'm good with that. For me, it's just since we got the playoff, Do we rest our starters? Do we, like, how do we play this? Do we want the number one seed so we can get a bye? I think that's important. And we can't forget that in some way, we're used to playing without our number one receiver. We just haven't played without Devontae yet. We know what this team looks like without Puka, and we can lean on Devontae and things of that nature. But we just haven't seen who would step up if there's no Devontae. So that's going to be interesting. Obviously, we got the 13 personnel and things like that. So for me, I'm not too worried going into Seattle. I know we'll have a great game plan. It's just going to be about executing, man. We're going against a great team, in there. And, it's hard to win in Seattle. So I like our chances just based off of the information that you just gave, D-Mac, that, we're questioning him missing one game. So we can look forward to him being in the playoffs because that's what what matters most.
Yeah, Jacob in here saying Puka's injury led to the discovery of 13 personnel, silver lining optimism. We saw it even in this game where, even before Devontae was out and everything, I know he was kind of battling it throughout the game, but there was 13 personnel happening throughout the game. In the first half, you had Terrence Ferguson make an appearance, have a nice catch or two, get missed on what should have been a wide open walk-in touchdown, right? But we saw what Colby Parkinson did today. We saw 3 catches from Davis Allen. Think about it. There was a combined, 13 targets between Terrence Ferguson, Davis Allen, and Colby Parkinson. So obviously you're going to try to use the tight ends. We've seen it happen so far throughout the season. My biggest thing is, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But D-Max brought it up in the past. Rams have been pretty lucky. Maybe the luckiest team in the NFL in terms of the injury bug. Knock on any piece of wood you have. But you look at a day like today in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL. Michael Parsons, I don't know what the diagnosis is there, but looked really bad, right? Like there's guys getting injured all over the league at this time of the year. And so if the worst case scenario is number 2 receiver, in this game alone, it looked for a second, D-Mac and Brock, like Puka Nacua looked like he was looking at his knee. And I saw that Mahomes play live today. I saw that Micah Parsons play. You can't think you're thinking the same thing when you're seeing Puka look at his knee and limp off the field, right? It was a scary game and a scary day in the NFL. So if it's just a hamstring that takes a week or two for Devontae, you got to win. You're 11-3. You're unfortunately in one of the best divisions in football where 11-3 is not enough to rest guys, but it could be a lot worse. And that's, I guess, what you got to say, right, D-Mac?
No doubt about it. Losing Devontae Adams would be an absolutely devastating loss that I think would limit this team's ceiling on their potential. But as you guys point out, you can still compete and you still have different packages, 13 personnel. You can feature guys differently. You can lean on the run game. I also think, too, that without a Devontae Adams out there, you probably get a sharper version of Matthew Stafford in a sense that, hey, he knows that he can't make mistakes for this offense to be able to score enough points to stay in games if he's out. And you look at the red zone, too. That's where he's been a specialist this year with the red zone touchdowns, has turned this Rams red zone offense, which was one of the worst in the league, to a top 5 red zone offense. So the fact that he walked off on his own power, the fact that he has played throughout the season, not with 1, but 2 hamstring injuries and has not missed a game, it tells me, I think Brock brings up the best point. You look at the schedule, Falcons, Cardinals, after the Seahawks game, kind of what's left, it might, we talk about the blessing in disguise, right? The silver lining of the 13 personnel being implemented with the Puka Nacua injury. The silver lining here could be now you kind of look at it as that, hey, let's go up to Seattle. Let's compete as a group. Let's do what we have to do to win that game. Defense has a really good showing. The offense leans on the run game. Puka Nacua has a big game. You lean on the tight ends and a great performance from Matthew Stafford. But you also give Devontae Adams some extended rest potentially. And when the playoffs rolls around, he's a plug-and-play guy that you don't have to worry about because I think that he already has that chemistry with Matthew Stafford at this point. So the silver lining in all this is saying, hey, if they can lock up that 1 seed, you could really, really give Devontae Adams a good stretch of time to when that playoff starts rolling. He just ready to empty that tank and empty that clip for the entire playoff run. So I think that's a one way to look at it too. Might be some cope though, right? Might be a little bit of cope.
It might be some copium, but it's also true. It's also very true, I think. And we'll see. We've got people in here agreeing with you saying this forces McVay to figure out another way to evolve the offense. He's already done it a couple times this year. After the break, I want to talk about some of the plays that made us very encouraged in this game because I feel like offensively, there's a couple beautiful designs, a couple beautiful runs. Felt like this Rams offense was unstoppable. And it's nice to see this Rams team win games in a multitude of ways. Today was another shootout And we won, whether it's an ugly game against the Titans, or a wire-to-wire shootout against the Lions on turf. The Rams are going to win no matter what. And that's what you need going in the playoffs.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
It's the Broncos Squad. Everything Denver Broncos every week.
Sayre, let's start with you, man. Your initial reaction to what was, in my opinion, the best game of the season for the Broncos.
100%. I mean, where do we want to start here? The offense coming through in a big way. The Broncos doing what a lot of people said they couldn't do. I know Adam Rank had the Broncos winning because he picks them to win every single week. But, I mean, I'm listening to ESPN, NFL Network, all these guys out here. They're all saying the same thing. Vegas saying the same thing. Broncos, they're not going to beat the Green Bay Packers, right? They're underdogs at home where they've won 11 straight games dating back to last season. Miss me with this bull crap about the Broncos not being the best team in the NFL, fellas. We've been talking about this. We've been giving due respect to the Patriots, the Rams. Who cares about those guys? The Broncos, they're the best team in the league. They didn't blow a 21-point lead at home in this game. They didn't throw an interception on the first drive and struggle to beat an 8-5 team. No, they took care of biz against a team that we said might represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Broncos are the best team in the NFL, baby. Let's talk about that.
I love the passion, and I don't really disagree with much of it right now. I mean, it was a tremendous game for the Broncos, specifically the second half. Bo Nix and the offense were good for the full game, but I thought the defense really clamped up in the second half. Nick, talk to me, brother.
Yeah, I led off with late night pitch fights, and that's exactly what it was, a fight in the trenches. And coming into this game, the Broncos had only given up, 17. When you think about it, let me back up for a second. You say, well, what has the Broncos defense done thus far? And they've had a lot of pressure kind of placed on them. And you look at, well, the number of sacks for the Broncos offense and Bo Nix, 17 to Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, 18. The dam had to break. But when you look at it where the rubber meets the road, no sacks for the Denver Broncos. One turnover, and that was a fumble by R.J. Harvey. Great, hell of a play by Michael Parsons to force that turnover. But the Green Bay Packers sacked 3 times. And the crazy thing about it, those sacks didn't come into the second half when the Broncos had that kind of 10-point swing, because at one point before that PS2 interception, the Broncos were down by 9 points. And I could not wait, guys. I jumped on my little Twitter thing and started hitting the numbers like, oh, MacGyver is showing up again. And they showed up not once, but twice. So great game.
100%. Cody, we were having some words in the press box.
It was fun. I'm feisty. Mic me up during the dang games.
You honestly, because you guys, what's the name of the new Locked On, the subscription thing that they're doing?
The everyday or all access stuff.
Yeah, they honestly, that would be worth the price of admission alone if you could listen to Cody mic'd up during these games. I'm telling you, folks, it is an absolute sight to see. But Cody, man, I mean, this team figured out a way to get the job done. Green Bay looked sharp offensively early. The defense clamped down late, and Bo Nix was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was. Look, and I'll say this too, because like the defense in the first half, we were just like, what's going on? Like too many explosive plays. They had 3+ passing plays allowed at 25+ yards. We know they've had some miscommunication issues on the defensive side at times. And then sometimes, a team can make a really good play. For the concern that we had, I think, for them in the first half, it disappeared on the second half entirely. And it really came after Pat Surtain's interception. I would say that right there kind of changed the tide of the whole game. Mm-hmm. And there was a negative play before that had happened on the series prior defensively that kind of put things into question, right? Denver's trailing 23-14, down by 9 in the third quarter. A terrible pass interference call on Riley Moss, which I mean, everyone in the press box was like, that was terrible. The replay they showed us clearly on the Jumbotron, it was like, what are these officials looking at? Then the next play, Josh Jacobs rushes in for a touchdown. And then we're like, all right, what's going to happen here? Their backs are against the wall. The defense from that point forward buckled down, and it really started. The snowball really began because of PS2's big interception. But Bo Nix and the offense, they were cooking all game long. He was on fire. He was feeling it, and his decision-making was where it needed to be. I think we've all talked about this. I think Broncos country agrees, this is probably the best game of his career, and it was a big game.
100%. And we'll dedicate a whole segment to Bo Nix and the offense today, just because I think we have to. I mean, what they did today, I think is, for the Bo-leavers out there, they were validated. For some of the skeptics, I'm not saying the haters, but people that were maybe on the fence about this Broncos team, I think they showed you in this game today against one of the best teams in the NFC, just how dangerous they can be when they hit full throttle. And so love to see it from Bo Nix. And Cody, I completely agree with you, man. I thought that Pat Surtain interception, I saw Bo Nix after the game was like, we might need to get him out there on offense. One, just an absolutely unbelievable play from Pat Surtain. But two, that really helped shift the momentum, I think, to the Broncos side, Nick.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I'm sure if Jordan Love, when he goes back to watch it, it was somewhat of a moon ball that hung too much in the air. And if he leads Christian Watson a little to the right hash, he converts that, but he leaves it a little short and allows PS2 to come back into the play and make a sensational play on the ball. And you guys are right. That's when things changed around for the team and everyone's ears poked up. And it was like, yeah, I know we're underdogs at home. We can win this freaking game. And that's where the tables turn. And you can see where, Alex Singleton, Dre Greenlaw, all those dudes were inspired on the defensive side of the ball to kind of stand up and make a stand. And a stand they did because, Cody, you're absolutely right. I mean, in that first half, Jordan Love was dishing. He was getting the ball out of his hands. The ball placement was ridiculous. But it just seemed as though the Broncos have done this from a defensive stand all season long. It's like maybe that first half or those first couple of plays, they're trying to make their way. They're trying to fill it out. And Vance Joseph is trying to fill out the other play caller. And then once they get into a rhythm, he's like, now I know what to dial up. Now I know what to do. And that's a great thing I love about this defense. And it's one of the reasons I continue to call them MacGyver, because they continue to show up when you need them the most. And what they remind me of, hold on, fellas. I don't know if you heard me say this before, but think about that 2015 team. Every time you needed someone to make a play on the defense, someone stepped up and made a play.